Boy, my phone, my computer's going off on crazy, isn't it? Okay. Hello again. Once again to another edition of Quoth Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 30-year veteran writer, illustrator, editor, and publisher of comic, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. Monster fans in the chat. It says Hail Raven in the chat. And Pop Culture Avengers here. I'm sure other people will be coming in shortly. Let's see what we got. We got a couple of questions today. We're not just going to talk about the subject that was the main theme today. Let me get the quick questions in, though. We'll start with Pop Culture Avengers question. Hi, Raven. Are you going to bring back the longer run episodes with the reviews for comics and crowdfunding and stuff like that? And guest creators. The short episodes are cool, but I miss the long form episodes. Yes, we're bringing those back. I just wanted to ease into it since I've been gone for a while, and I hadn't had people scheduled or anything like that. And I had taken a complete sabbatical from everything, so I really would have had to try and scramble and put everything together lump, and I just didn't want to do that. So hopefully starting next week, we'll start having those again. Our next question is from Sin Killer, who's not in the chat yet, so hopefully he'll show up soon. And that question is, I was wondering if you ever talk about the tools and techniques you use as an artist, especially as an inker. I think that would make for a good topic of discussion. As a point of fact, I do have live draw episodes on the channel. If you go back and look where that sort of thing is discussed, but we'll do that again in the future, of course. Probably do a little more actual storyboarding instead of the pinup stuff I've been doing regularly. Trying to get more into the storytelling aspects of things as season 5 comes about in a few weeks. So, yeah, we're going to be bringing that up shortly, and hopefully people will enjoy that when we get to it. Okay, the main topic of discussion today would have been about the question, are the mid-card publishers in comics all dying off? And this is a conversation about what's happened in the last 6 to 10 weeks regarding Oni Press and more recently Valiant Entertainment. For those of you who don't know, Oni Press let go of their founding partner and editor-in-chief, James Lucas Jones, and some other people that were long-term 20-year veterans at the company. And there seems to be some questions as to where the direction of the company is going. They pulled all of their booths and all their scheduled presentations from San Diego Convention this summer in the wake of this, because they did the changeover and announcement right before San Diego Con, which would have obviously overwhelmed them with questions about what was going on there. Pop Culture Avenger says, Oni Press has been treading water for a while. I wouldn't say they've been treading water. Let me get into that in a minute. The situation with Oni has to do with the fact that 3 years ago they merged with Lion Forge, which had a parent group. And everybody in the general population in the comics fandom thought that Oni was absorbing Lion Forge. Other way around. And while the short-term people that were working at Lion Forge initially were the ones that were first cut during that merger, it was a pretty obvious thing to me, at least, since the parent company was actually the one that owned Lion Forge and they were absorbing Oni, that this was going to happen. In fact, I expected it to happen a lot sooner than it did, and I think it would have if we hadn't been hit by COVID. I think COVID slowed them down on the process of that, because not only did it put everything in delay in terms of what was getting released, when, and how. But it also stymied the progress of where the transition was going to go. And I think when you have 2 years, that are kind of iffy between 20 and 2021, that they were trying to get it so that they could stabilize it, but it wasn't going to be stabilized because not only was that going on, but the parent company of the Oni Lion Forge also owns Magnetic Press, and Magnetic Press's finances are tied into all of this as well on some level. I don't know the specific specificities of that, but I know that they are tied in. And so I think what was going on was the people that own all three were trying to figure out what they actually could market and license for multimedia purposes. A lot of their stuff is actually where they're the licensors instead of the licensees. And when you're spending a lot of money on licenses and not getting a return on your investment, heads are going to roll. A lot of Onis create their own content. They didn't necessarily have access or control over the licenses. It would have gone to the creators. And I think that's where there was a little bit of a disagreement between the original Oni management and the new ownership. And I think that's where this ultimately led to where we're at. So there's that. Now, what that means moving forward, I can't really say, because like our friend Nick Tagnetti, who does Pink Lemonade, he just signed on with Oni. The first 2 issues of the Oni Press version have been solicited in the last 2 issues of previews. So apparently they're still sticking with the contracts and still abiding by what their agreements were, which is a good thing. Nick hasn't come to me. Nobody else that I know through Oni has come to me and said, hey, what's going on? Did you hear something? Or, I'm getting screwed or anything. So I'm hoping that this is going to stay not necessarily a smooth transition, because there's never such thing as a smooth transition when people are losing their jobs. But I would have liked to have seen the ownership handle it a little bit better. I think they said after 3 years, I was expecting this, but I was expecting it to happen a lot sooner and on a lot more open I'm trying to think of the word, transparent manner than it has. Didn't Oni lose some of their major titles? I'm not from thinking they did, but maybe so. I don't know what you're calling their major titles. They might have lost some licensed books, but I've never seen their licensed books be their really big sellers. Cullen Bunn's books are all still there, and those are some of their bigger sellers, to my knowledge. But then Cullen has so many titles out from all the other publishers out there. I mean, he's with just about everybody at the same time, that it might be affecting their sales with their books at Oni. I don't know. But I know Lion Forge's titles slowed down some, which is still part of Oni since they merged, and that might have made a difference as well. But I can't think of a major title from Oni that they lost that would cause that kind of a kerfluffle. No. So that's the thing about Oni, and I don't think we're going to find out exactly where they're going to go for another 3 months, probably. But when we get 3 months in, we should probably be finding out who's stepping in and more of a direction where we're going. I just would have expected this to have happened earlier this year or last year, especially in the sense that if they were going to do San Diego Con and then have it really bad timing to do it when they did it right before San Diego. But that may have been something beyond the major investors' control, because He comes from money family, and the family might have pulled the purse strings a little bit tighter sooner than he expected as well. So we'll wait and see. As for Valiant, that's a little bit of a different animal. That's been something that's happened more recently, and they actually own all the properties of the characters. They own X-O Manowar and Bloodshot and Shadow Man and Solar and Turok and stuff like that. And obviously, there was the Vin Diesel Bloodshot movie that came out the week that COVID was announced in America and everything got shut down. And that did hurt them in terms of their box office return, obviously. I think if we hadn't had COVID, they would not be in trouble. I honestly believe that. I think Bloodshot would have been enough of a success in the box office to spur on and launch the other films that were planned. We haven't seen or heard any real development of the other properties as films since the Bloodshot situation. And that makes a big difference, because when you're talking about a film like, if you're going to do X-O Manowar, that's like doing an Iron Man film. That's going to be a $200 million investment to make that kind of a movie. And if you don't have the bankroll and Hollywood bankroll to put that in there and market this thing, the books aren't going to sustain you in this market right now. Certainly Valiants aren't, because they're not selling. They're selling between 8 and 15K, I believe, is where they're selling it right now, and that's just not strong enough for a mass media entertainment company. And I think that's where the hang-up comes in for them. And that's why I think they're having a transition situation. I think they're trying to find more, not just publishing professionals, but people that have a multimedia experience, so that they can laterally and uniformly get everything on the same level and market it across platforms. If you take a film, like I said, like X-O Manowar, you're talking about $200 million, because it's going to be like Iron Man. If you take Turok, you're talking Jurassic Park with Indians shooting around. So Jurassic Park costs a lot of money to make, so you're looking at a very expensive film for Turok. Personally, I would go with Shadow Man as their first one. It's going to be a lot less expensive to make, and they can do a lot more supernatural, classic horror type genre, mystery type genre, akin to the classic Night Stalker series and stuff, but make it more ramped up with voodoo and stuff like that. So I think they could do something with that. But is Shadow Man a big enough character for them to market it? I don't know. And I think that's why they're trying to get the other ones that are more relatable to either Marvel characters or to big budget films that have an analogy to it, so that they can say, okay, we know where the money is going to come from on the audience and interest. Mm-hmm. So that's where Valiant is right now, is in a situation where they're in flux, and they're trying to find some new people that are going to be able to coordinate that, I think. And that changes not just who is at the upper management and editorial, but it's going to change who's working there as far as freelance creators and stuff as well. So that is what I have to say about Valiant at this time. So that's we got for that. Let's see here. Okay, that seems to be all the questions for today. So if you have questions, email me at quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com, subject QTR Q&A. I will do the best I can to answer your questions. Mostly every day. I'm going to try to do it at least 5 days a week, maybe 6. Tomorrow's topic of discussion will be why I get annoyed when viewers ask me about what other podcasters are talking about, apparently. That's the question of the day. So that I will hopefully be back at a more reasonable hour in the afternoon, perhaps tomorrow. Had to do things a little bit later today because I had some unexpected errands to run. It kept me out all day. But, people want to know what I got this week. I'll talk about what I got this week tomorrow as well on the show. So hopefully that's enough for tomorrow. But I hope you guys have had a good day, and we will be back tomorrow at some point, probably around, I want to try around 3 or 4 p.m., but we'll see. In the meantime, if you like this video or you think others might, please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. If you want to reach out to me on social media, Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter at LewisBrightRave2. You see some of my artwork at deviantart.com/BrightRaven. You've been watching Quoth the Raven, Lewis Brightраven exclusively on YouTube. Again, if you have questions or comments, email me at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com. And if I'll get back to you either privately or publicly on the channel in a day or two, try lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. Unless fan says interesting viewpoints. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes, you take care too as well. Everyone have a good evening, and we will see you next time. Have a good one.